Hi, we're about to start, everyone, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, my lovelies. So I'm Lizzie, and today we are live with Lizzie. We're going to be making from some of our brand new release yesterday. Thank you to all of you, those of you that joined me. As you saw, it was an enormous release. It was quite a lot for us to arrange and get out, but we got it done in the end. Part of our release was a lot of really festive dies, either snowflakes or Christmas themed or Santa, or so I've got a whole array of those, and I haven't made with die cuts exclusively for quite some time, so I thought I would dedicate a little bit of time today with those. I do have a couple of little admin reminders which I'm sure Liam's going to be really pleased to share, because he spent quite a long time making this absolutely fabulous GIF for our Wicked Witches retreat. So we're doing a virtual retreat just like we did in August. However, this is much bigger, much better. For example, our August one, we did 10 cards. It was in one day, and the supplies were what you needed for the class. There was no homework, but you got stamps, papers, a small die, ephemera, and everything to make the cards in the class. So you had some papers and some ephemera and your stamp and die set at the end. This class, however, you're going to have loads left over to be able to play with. There is 2 stamp sets and there is 2 coordinating die sets. So just to give you an idea, not to mention the fact that we're doing 20 cards, it's 2 days long, and we've got 4 guest designers, one of which is Christy, and we've shared, and we're going to be sharing another one tomorrow. So there's 4 teachers to help me out. It is going to be live, it's going to be available on replay if it's too much for you to do in one sitting, or if you're busy that weekend you can catch up to it another time. The joy about us doing it on YouTube is if I'm going too fast, you can just pause me, or if the doorbell goes, you can pause me, or if someone's coming over for tea and you can just come back in whenever you like. You could jump back in live, catch up missed cards. There's so many variations, so we thought this was best. But Liam's going to share the GIF with you now. So as you can see, there's a few sneaky peeks of ideas, but one of the biggest reasons that I think this class is brilliant is there's no homework. So you'll receive your kit, you'll open it up, it will all be prepared. You're not going to have to fussy cut anything out. You're not going to have to sit there with a die cut machine for ages. Those cards will be ready to create along with me. I will be making at exactly the same time as you. So you can just have your kit as long as you have your supplies, and you will need extras, you know, like a ruler and a die cut machine. Like there are certain sort of inks perhaps maybe. But I will give that list ahead of time anyway, and you can swap things out, so it won't be difficult or tricky. But I'm very much looking forward to that weekend. I'm super pleased to see we've got Leslie and Shelley and Tammy, Doris, Nedra. Yeah, hello everyone. Should we make something? That's what we're here for, isn't it? So the first one that I thought that I would make with is this Tower of Gifts. So anytime, Liam, anytime he wants to flip you around, there we go. Okay, so this is the Tower of Gifts die, and as you can see, it's got a bit of a wobbly edge around it because this is the inner part only die. So I'm going to show the best way that we can get the most out of this, and let's make a card. So I'm going to do a top fold because that's my favourite. So this is just a piece of American letter cardstock split down the middle, and I'm going to score it at 5.5 so that I have a top fold. That is just a preference thing. One of the reasons that I like a top fold is that you can take a nice picture of it when it's standing up. So Okay, I have my top fold, and we have this these really pretty papers. This is one of the ones from A Plum Christmas, and they're all these really lovely mauves, greens and purples. So I've just picked one of these, and I particularly like the gingham, and this is one of those canvas ones. So it's got a little bit of something to it. And oh my gosh, you must excuse me. I'm so sorry, I need to sneeze. So Liam's prepared to pull the mic out by the looks of it. So I've got a really horrid cold. It will hopefully clear off in no time, but just for the time being, bear with me. I think it's gone away because I've panicked. Okay, I'm going to cover my card base. So I'm going to do this in my old-fashioned way, if I can get my hands to cooperate with me, which they don't seem to want to be today. This is going to be a very interesting live, I'm afraid, everyone. Mark off around my card base. You can do this with measurements, of course. Now, I'm going to do this at the side of my mat because you can still just about see that. With a T-square ruler, if you hook it over the corner of your mat, you can then push your cardstock into it so that it's super straight, and then you know that the line that you're drawing is true, and it's going to be straight. It just means that you can save paper, basically, because you could cut this with the trimmer. You can do it by measurements, but I like to do it like this because then that way I can keep this intact, because you never know, I might just want a really long skinny strip, or I might, it gives me more options. So, okay, so just going to chop these down. I like to use a really long blade so it's fewer of the big openings which have the opportunity to send you off in the wrong direction. You're less likely to be straight, whereas if you're doing it all in one snip, it might be at the wrong angle, but it will be straight. So, okay, let's pop that over here. I'm going to try and keep my workspace very tidy today. Shall we see how it goes? So I now have a piece of patterned paper exactly the size of my card front, which I'm very pleased with. And I am going to get that straight on because I would like to get more than one card done today. So we're not going to mess about. We're just going to get straight in. Okay. Okay, so, oh, of course, if it's just managed to lay that down crooked, that's no fun for anyone. That's better. Right. Stuck. Now, this is so cute. And what I thought I could do is use one of our stitched arch dies. God, I can't even speak today. I'm so sorry. Our stitched arch dies, and I've got some of our vanilla cardstock, because in the papers there's actually not a lot of white in that collection. It is more of a vanilla, so I'm going to die cut out an arch. Let's get some smaller snips. I'm going to see my frugalness coming through here now. So that's gonna get popped there. And then I'm gonna lay this one right in, not touching. So if I pull you in on the close-up, you'll see here. I want to have, obviously, the whole of my arch on the ivory, on the vanilla. And then I want to have my present with the bow right up near the edge, but not touching the metal, because if they touch, then it means that it's going to cry when it goes through the die cut machine, because it'll be metal trying to crunch through metal. So I'm going to pop some tape. You can't see the die cut machine behind me, but Liam did some die cutting for us, and there is a million bits of tape. He came home and thought there'd been a massacre. My poor tape supply. He really went for it. So here we go. Let's do some die cutting. Now, this is the gift die has got some quite narrow areas, and because we're pushing it through with another die, I am going to make sure that I've given it a really good go. So I'm going to push it through twice this way up, so back in and out, and then I'm going to flip that whole sandwich without touching anything in there, because obviously when you open it up, even though they are taped, they sometimes can shift slightly and then you get these fuzzy hairs. So when you've got a detailed die, it's best to try and give it a real good going over on that first pass. Ooh, we didn't do badly, but I think I am going to push that through again. But now, because this has successfully cut, I am actually going to take that arch away, because that obviously is adding some space around the gift, the Tower of Gifts. So if I now pop that in just like that, the only die, it was me being lazy, I should have done it in 2 passes anyway. But let's go again. Okay. The other thing that I can do is I could shim the die. I could lay another piece of cardstock there on top of, and then put this on. Just makes it a bit thicker and it's more to push. And now that's just gone straight through. So I think me being a bit lazy, not wanting to do 2 separate runs through the die cut machine was what I was paying for there. So let's try and get all of this tape off without tearing. Okay, right, so now we can pop out all of these really cute little bits and pieces. Oh. So, is everybody excited for Halloween? Are we Halloween people? Because I happen to have a very excited Halloween person here. Do excuse me whilst I do a little bit of surgery here. My Cuttlebug is not quite the die cut machine it used to be. She's a poor old girl. She needs retiring, really. But my my other machines are too big to be able to pull on screen. Okay, pop, pop. I'm going to try not to stab my fingers doing this, because that's one of my favourite activities. Out you come, thank you. Okay, so I made a nice big old mess on my desk now. Okay. So as you can see, we've now got a very pretty Tower of Gifts die cut, and it's like a silhouette. So I've popped that there. Now, this sentiment, this is the Oh Santa stamp set. So this is, we've had this from a kit from just quite some time ago, actually. And it's one of my favourites. I really enjoy this. So I'm gonna just pop that in. And I decided to use an oxide. Now, in this pattern paper, I have a, where's my cheat sheet gone? I've probably put it somewhere really safe. Here. So, I have one of these, which I have stamped out all of the different inks. We're using just, these are our Peach Blossom stamps. And then what I can do is, with the pattern paper, I can sort of hold it over and see which I think works the nicest, and it really helps things get coordinated. I do this with everything. I fill in the sheets so that I can match. But I really like the look of Rustic Wilderness with these greens. So and I've got these new minis, which I was very excited about. So I'm just going to, you're getting to enjoy the first stamp from here. So This is a new stamp set, so I'm gonna just quickly, to make sure that it stamps nicely, pop a little bit of Versamark on there. That's because in the process of manufacturing, there is a film left over stamps. So the first thing that you make, you want to make sure that, and I mean, if you've got a stamp platform, it's not quite such a problem, but the first time you use, you want to make sure that you get a good impression, and Versamark really helps with that. So pop that out. I'm going to hold it there and pull it away. We don't want it to just to drop, but I'm going to give that another little go. Okay. The reason I'm holding it here and not just picking it away is because I don't want it to jog, because if it jogs, it will drag. And if I pull you in on the close-up, you'll see how nicely that's stamped. And that's an oxide, so it's not a dye ink. It's not quite a pigment ink. It's somewhere in the middle because it's chalky. I don't know where my stamp cleaner is. I will find it later. I promise. Okay. So now we have a card base and we have a really pretty die cut. So I'm just going, and it's got sentiment now, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I am going to use my messy mat, and you can use anything. You can use, let me see actually first, before I do that. True me, I'm going to change my mind slightly. So I'm going to grab, I'm going to grab a blending brush, and I'm just going to drag in from the edges ever so slightly using this, just to pull in a little bit extra of that green. I'm not doing it super smooth, I'm doing it heavier in some spots than others, and this is because I want it to look organic. But when you do this, make sure you tap the first little dollop of ink off, because I can show you on the back, because if you don't, if you go straight from the ink pad to there, you're going to get that. Oh, my camera's not very happy about something. But there we are. If you just tap straight from the ink pad, you will get a smudge. We'll put it on the close-up because there is a lot of white going on here. But you'll get this. So if you tap it off first, you'll get a smoother blend, which is what we want. We don't want it to look like it's been manhandled into... There we go. So that's got a little bit of the green on it now. And I am actually going to pull in that card base and do the same to this. Do I need to trim? Ever so slightly. Let me just... There's a hair's width extra here. So we'll just remove that. Because although it is less than a millimetre, it will make the card look off. It's just a tiny little spray. But we do want it all to look straight. Nobody likes a crooked card. And if you don't have a particularly steady hand, when you're attaching your front on your panel, cut the paper ever so slightly larger. And it will really help. Because if your page is larger, you can always trim it down. But going the other way, it's much more tedious. I'm just going to drag in from the edges. All this does is it helps encourage the eye to look at the green, which is the stamping and the focal point, and it makes everything match, which is what we want. We want it all to look like it was put together with some intention, unlike how I often craft, which is little bits haphazardly. So, right, now I'm going to go back to where I was. This is a spritzing ink. There's loads of different companies that have this sort of stuff, and you can get metallic watercolour paints. I have got some somewhere. They're probably packed. But you can just get those wet and then use a brush to flick. This is a personal preference. I'm not going to spray because it will make a shocking great big mess. But instead, I'm going to get the majority off and then just do a little flick with what is, it looks like I'm getting it everywhere other than on the, there we go, that's a good one. We're getting there now, getting into my flow. Just popping a few little gold flecks. Not too much, don't want to overkill. Okay, so now very carefully, where there isn't a splatter, lift it up and away. That will need a good cleaning later with all the ink and whatnot on it. And I'm going to set this off to one side to dry. Now, as you can see with the gold, I'm now going to cut, don't need this tape here, that's in the way. I'm going to cut a piece which is larger than the die cut. And I'm going to leave a little bit of space, or in fact I'll just chop that down. Leaving a bit of space all the way around it, because what we're going to end up doing is, or is that going to be, oh, that's going to be too long. I'm going to have to trim it down. Let's make sure we do this properly. There we go. Because, again, this is in dry mode, I'm going to attach this behind. So let's just snip off those little corners there, trying not to put our fingers in the splatter while we go. There we go. So that's done, that's done. Now at this point, we have got some really beautiful gold gems. We have them in our kits. We put them, we have the strips, there's all sorts. Plenty to choose from for a little bit of bling. Do I have? I do. So these are some that I would have had in a kit, because we often do rows of 3. So that's a really nice way to use these. Let's have a look at the back. So my foam tape is only 1 mil deep, and I really like that because I like a subtle lift. I'm going to get my non-stick skizzers. Okay, so let's have a look. We're going to chop this all in half so that it's just that little bit narrower. It's quite the challenge when you're doing this live, because normally I would just walk away and go and make a cup of coffee at this point and just let that all dry. But we're going to keep moving. So you're getting to watch me play the challenge game of not smudging the recently splattered panel. It's all doable. Where there's a will, there's a way. Now, I do want to support these top bits, and that is going to be super tricky with not being able to lay it down flat. So let's see how we get on. Right, that's all supported around the edges. So now I just need to get some little corners underway and try not to ping them off across the room. So there's one. And let's see if we can just snip this in half. Oh, there we go. Pinged it across the room as predicted, as we have in our house called it. So now I think it's just that little bit too long. It will poke out through the ribbon of the bow, which we don't want. So let's trim that down just a little bit further. Okay, oh, there's no splatter at the top, so I can manhandle it a little bit up there, which will certainly help. There we go. Right, that can go in the bin. So, I'm going to press these ones in as I can check. Good. Sorry. Getting nudged. So removing the backing, and you don't actually even have to remove the backing off of all of the pieces because it's the lift that it's there for, as long as it sticks. So, and this stuff's pretty good, but in my estimation, if there is a bit of stick to be exposed, get it out. It will make your card more stable in the long run. Right, okay, so now we want to cover the back where all the holes are, but not hang over the edges. So I have positioned that, and now I'm going to look from the front where there's no wet splatters and press that into the stick, which is now stuck it to my mat. Where's my little trowel? I can see it next to the blue tape that you so love. It's getting warmer. Getting warmer. Oh, very hot. He's got it in. Okay, so now I've managed to stick the remainder. So I have this, it looks like a plasterer's trowel, so that I'm not yanking it and then distressing it. There we go. Right, so now let's go again with some more tape. And there we go. Pop this on just to give it a little bit of extra lift. And I'm going to split this piece in half. Okay, so there we go. Remove the backing from these pieces, and our card very nearly there. So you've had to watch me do a lot of what I would call prep, the die cutting and the foam tape and whatnot. But this is how I like to craft. It is a case of losing all your tools. Oh, there it is. It was hidden. Look, it's buried under my tape. And then I'm just going to add, just for the sake of a little extra sparkle, because I do love a bit of sparkle, I'm going to add some gems haphazardly. And these are our little soft gold ones. And that I'm going to call, oh, that one's alive, but it's not getting away from me. There we go. I'm going to call that card made. So it's got a little bit of 3D to it, got a little bit of lift, which makes them look a little bit special. And because I ink blended in around the edges of both the vanilla and the card itself, it all matches it in together. So that's the first card. So I really hope that you like that, because the Tower of Gifts is a really pretty die. So let's make another one. And we have another die set here, which has got these lovely panels, and they're similar to the Tower of Gifts in that they are inner dies. So what we're going to do here is this is a card base size, which is 5.5 by 4.25. And I'm going to decide, I think I'm going to go up here, and I'm just going to die cut this straight out of this panel. Now, as I say, this panel is a full-sized card base. So let's get this running through here and see where the card takes us. I had a little bit of an idea about where I was going with the last one, but this one, not so much. So you're going to watch me play and panic and change my mind as I go. If you're here for professionalism, you've come to the wrong spot, I'm afraid. I'm all sneezy and not quite with it. But I'm trying. I'm very trying, apparently. Oh, gosh. I am going to not even try with my little Cuttlebug on this. I'm just going to take it straight to my big shot. So, to excuse the back of me because obviously you can't see this machine. Make sure this is taped in exactly the same spot. Can't be too cavalier about these things. Okay. This machine is fabulous. It is not fabulous on my shoulder. Okay, here we go. So just popped that through. Now I need to encourage all of these little pieces to come out. Come out for me. I need to replace my plates in this enormous die cut machine because they're dirty, and I've just seen that it's smudged. So I'm going to show you ways to deal with that as well. But I made a mistake there because this is an intricate die of putting it in sideways. When you've got something that needs to go through a die cut machine and it's got a lot of detail, you want to try and put it through in a way that means that if you put it through this way, then it means that you're going to be able to get as much pressure on each part, whereas when you do it this way, it's got far more pressure to deal with. So, okay, let's hope that it's playing ball. Yes, it is, thankfully. See, dies play up, even the people that do this on a daily basis. So it's not just you, it's not just them, it's all of us, we all suffer. Okay, let's pop these bits in. As you can see, my die plates are gross. They've left lots of marks on my pristine white panel. So I'm going to have to improvise to deal with that. Okay. Right. We got there. Now, dirty smudges all over the place, but I'm not going to focus on those right now. What I am going to focus on, I'll deal with those bits at the end before I assemble the card, because if I put too much onto it now, I might change my mind and have done a load of extra work that wasn't in fact necessary. So I'm going to take a stitched rectangle. Now, the largest is the A2 size, which we don't want. Do we want this size? I think we do. I think that's going to look, yes, that's a really nice border. So we'll go with this one. So we're going to make sure that we're square with these lines here before we tape down the panel. You can see why I wasn't going to fuss over some of these smudges yet, because they're all getting chopped off. So it's best to know where you're going before you worry about other bits and pieces. So let's get this through, and my trusty little Cuttlebug that doesn't hurt my shoulder anywhere near as much is more than happy to deal with my stitched dies because they're not too mean. Crash bang wallop, sorry about that. Okay, there we go. So that looks a little bit tidier now, doesn't it? And put that there. Now this is adhesive from the tape, and I have one of these gummy rubbers, and these are like magic. Ta-da! Gone. So if you've got any sort of adhesive where it shouldn't be, get yourself one of these. They're magic, absolutely magic. Right. So now I have this. I need a card base. Here's one I made earlier. It's handy, isn't it? So if you're going white on white, which doesn't do a great job when you're looking on a screen, that looks lovely. But what you can do is this, all the snowflakes. Right, and what we've got is, this is a sheet from our festive mint. Again, similar to the lovely plums, this is full of whites and silvers. So whilst that one is more warm tones, this is the cooler ones, and because this is shiny, I was drawn to it. Now we could just pop the shiny in behind the snowflakes, but I like the idea of it peeking out just around the edge. And I'm not going to do a stitched die around that because I don't want to take away from the design. So I'm just going to leave a hair's breadth around the edge of that. And I'm just going to mark it. And again, I'm going to use my T-square ruler, pull it up to the side of my mat, make sure the ruler's the correct way up. Pull it up there, push the cardstock in, and then I'm just going to use pencil. And I prefer to do this on the reverse side of the card, on paper, sorry, simply because then when I forget to erase the pencil lines and realise at the end after I've made the card, it doesn't actually matter. So let's get this snipped. As before, as few snips as possible, and pushing the paper up to the blade also does really help on the piece that you've cut. The piece that's sitting on top of your blade, you can wiggle it, and if you hold it against the blade, as long as your scissors are straight, your paper will remain straight, she says, and then it crops wonky. So now we have a super pretty shiny piece of snowflakes, and then we have another super shiny pretty piece. How cute is this? They're really lovely. So now I need to choose a sentiment. Now you see, I love the Let It Snow, but I think it's a little bit big. So you know what? I think we're going to go with Merry and Bright. I think that's a really pretty stamp that works very well here. Now let's have a look. Where did I put my cheat sheet? I'd like to get something similar to this blue, so I'm going to hold them together, and the closest I think is actually Speckled Egg. So I'm going to have a very quick look for Speckled Egg. Thankfully you guys can all still hear me when I ran away, but that wasn't too sad, was it? So let's get the Speckled Egg out. Let's give it some encouragement. Eek. Right. Speckled Egg, here we are. And I'm going to need my Misty again. I've not kept my workspace quite as tidy as I should have done. I'm going to pop my Misty upside down now because I've still got my sentiment that needs washing off from last time at the top. I'm going to tuck this in the far bottom corner so that it's in the right spot. Close that over. Tuck that back in. Going to do the same again. Grab my Versamark. Tap that onto my sentiment. And then, yes, so this is the brand new Speckled Egg Mini Oxide. Okay. I love that they've been released in the minis. They're really handy. Okay. They don't take up as much space on my messy craft desk, you see, which is very important to me because I haven't kept it very tidy at all, considering I'd said that was my intent. But we can't all be perfect. Okay. Look at who didn't tuck it up into the corner. That was naughty. Are we planning on carrying them? I caught that, Leslie. I caught that. Well, don't want to spoil. So I'll leave that to Liam in the comments. How am I going to fix this? Just like that. Don't you love it? It's not ideal because the stitching's on the wrong side, but no one would know. As long as no one here tells on me. That's why you use the magnet. And using the magnet is important, or a sticky mat. A sticky mat, I understand, is probably the better way to go. I'm going to make the same mistake twice, aren't I? What are the odds? If people want to place bets, am I going to misstamp it twice in a row? Ta-da! Okay, right, so it's not quite as I'd intended, but it never is. We are going to grab some more foam tape. My non-stick snips are truly buried. Let's grab a length of that. Okay. So don't try this at home. Make sure that you take the time to stamp correctly. Okay. Okay. Let's just get that. And we do want to support that outer edge. Nobody likes a saggy die cut, so we're going to just pop the narrowest bit along that edge, and we'll do the same up top. There we go. Now, before I stick this, I'm actually going to do the same as I did with the gold. Let's see if we can, in quick time, find a nice silvery one. Of course, it appears the answer will be no. I've got lovely white and green, but even my blues are too bright. So, yeah, it's a wrong blue. Never mind, there will be, aha. Let's go with this. Let's go with this one. This has got a silvery white, or, no, we'll go with this one. She'll make her mind up. Okay, right. So these are Ganzai Tambi Starry colours. This is called White Gold, the one that we're going to use. And to activate this, thankfully, it would appear we've got some water left in a water brush on the desk. Pop a few drops in just to make it wet. Now, ideally, if I'd have planned this, I would have done that about 10 or 15 minutes ago, just so that the top layer of pigment had the opportunity to loosen. But as I do with everything, it was on the fly. So I'm just gonna sort of wake it up a little bit. This isn't going to be intense. It's not intended to be like a super shiny, like an embossing. It's just that I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of extra shine on here, Just a few little splatters. And the other thing that we can do, which has just occurred to me, is we can get some of the medium on the mat and we can use the speckled egg. Just rub a bit of that next to it, but don't put it in it, for goodness sake, that wouldn't go well. And then you can mix the two together. And then we've got this blue that matches perfectly to the stamping that we've just done. It just stops it from being a completely whitewashed piece. Okay, I'm going to lift that out. It really does need a wash now, doesn't it? Okay, this piece I'm going to stick straight onto my card base. I'm going to double check which way up my card base is, because that's my favourite, as we all know, sticking it on upside down. I really do enjoy the specialty papers, you know, the shines, the textures, the bling. I do so love playing with the pretty bits. And this is one of the reasons that die cutting is so good, because once you've made your mind up on how your design is going to look, like this previous one, for example, once you've done the design work, it wouldn't take long to sort of factory line if you wanted to make 20 of the same or something. So we now have that. Let's take off some of this release paper. Now, please take this card with a pinch of salt, because of course the stitching is on the incorrect side now, but it's still there, you can still see it. So now I'm by eye, taking my time and slowly lowering it until I'm happy with where it goes. And I have some bling, thankfully. And from a previous kit, similar to the gold ones, and I'm just going to add a couple of little extra shiny pieces. I'm not doing very well with the gems today, am I, everyone? They don't like me. But one of the nicest things to do with the little gems, once I've done my random placements, is decorate the snowflakes. So in the middle, you can have one there, and you can have one here, and then there's two more there. If you can see the middle, it gets a gem. Oh gosh, there we go. And last one down here. Oh my goodness. There we go. Right. I'm going to add a couple more on the side because it feels like the three are a little sparse. So I'm just going to turn that into 5. I do follow the rule of keeping them odd, because otherwise your eye looks for the pattern. So here's my other shiny card, and I'm going to pull you in on the close-up so that you can see the coloured splatters as well. I'm hoping that, there you go, you can see them when they're on the side. They're really subtle. But everybody, these are the 2 cards that I've made using the die cuts from yesterday's release. Really hope that you like them. I've really enjoyed making them, despite the torment it caused. But it's just 2 different ways. You can use it as a silhouette just to make that stand as the centerpiece, or you can use it as a springboard. So the snowflakes were the idea, and then I went from there. So thank you very much for joining us today. We will be back next Tuesday with a believe it's 5 in a flash. We'll be making with our brand new kit, which Liam can just quickly show you now, in case you didn't catch our unboxing yesterday. It is Festive Tales, so it's really lovely vintage colours. It's all red and greens and ivories, but it's all themed around books and being cosy. So as you can see, there's ephemera, there's some felt, there's a stamp and coordinating die set, which is like gold dust. I love the techniques that you're able to enjoy when you've got stamps with coordinating dies. So the kit, yeah, it's got lots of bling and shiny bits. Those crackle gels are my favourites. And we've got these little pearls which will double up really nice as shaker fodder. But yes, I think I'll do 5 in a flash with the kit next week, so that you've got 5 cards straight off the bat that you could replicate when we start shipping, which will be on the 3rd of November. We are taking add-on orders up to and 31st of October, so Halloween, at 9 AM Mountain Time. Our Wicked Witches virtual retreat, I'm going to mess that up at some point. Wicked Witches virtual retreat is available to buy. As I say, tomorrow we'll be releasing the next of our guest designers. I did sneak a couple of the cards that I'm going to be teaching in, one in each, the unboxing and the product release, so you might want to check in over there to see if you didn't catch those. But yes, I do believe that is everything, and until next time, thank you very much for joining me, and make something beautiful. Bye.